Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. Back here today with something a little bit different. I'm just going back to my existing collection and talking about vinyls. From the last video that I posted, it seemed that a lot of people are more interested in seeing some extreme stuff, so I'm sticking to that for the time being. Yeah, and it's just always good to change it up. I mean, sometimes I talk about collection updates, sometimes existing CD collection. So this is the third installment of my vinyl collection for death metal. So you'll notice that in the previous two volumes I talked about their early letters in the alphabet. This is actually concluding. This video will conclude all the death metal vinyl I own in the collection, because my death metal vinyl is actually quite sparse in comparison to heavy metal vinyl and black metal vinyl. So that's just the way it goes. I mean, obviously I really like death metal, but I just own more of it on CD. So today you'll see me with these titles. It's like racing through the alphabet, but it's the last 5 I have in my vinyl collection. And in addition to that, I also have some box sets, but they're definitely for another video. Like, you know, I will devote an entire video to those individually. Yeah, so what I'm going to do today is just talk about these last 5 death metal vinyl in my collection, and yeah, that's it. So going through 5 records, there is a lot of detail and a lot of content, so I'm not going to talk about the music in a great deal of detail, but yeah, I always say that. Let's see how it goes. All right, so we'll get straight into it to avoid wasting time. So first album, this is Mortician with House by the Cemetery. Yeah, so this one was re-released by Hell's Headbangers. I actually bought it from the band directly a few years ago, I think 7, 8 years ago, something like that. But yeah, Mortician need no introduction to most people, I'm sure. Brutal death metal from New York, USA. They're sort of, they have this reputation, they're renowned as the most brutal and the heaviest band on the planet, and I think that's a reasonable statement. I mean, at least they would be in the top 10, I would say. So if you're not familiar with the sound, it's like guitars down tuned as low as they can go, pummeling, rattly kind of bass, usually drum programming, so like blast beats like 250 beats per minute in certain parts. They also have like the groovy parts as well, and extremely low, moist guttural vocals. So it's extreme death metal. What I would say about this band is, if your ear is not trained to death metal, this would probably sound like noise to a lot of people, I think. Like, for me, I've listened to this kind of music for a long time, and when I first heard this band, even at that time, I felt this band sounded very extreme. So that's just to let you know, if you're not really familiar with death metal, I wouldn't really start with this band, because in the beginning it's seemingly impenetrable. But obviously, as I said, when your ear's trained to this style of music, you can appreciate it, but it's extremely brutal. So this one is an EP. It came out, can't remember when actually, early 90s. So this was before their first full-length Hacked Up for Barbecue. Yeah, it's a good album. Not one of my favorite Mortician ones. It's very extreme. The production is dirty and noisy. It's lo-fi and everything. But this is where they established that tradition of, you know, including horror movie samples at the beginning and end of their songs, things like that. Yeah, very brutal. There's also some catchy moments as well. It's got a bit of everything, also some covers. So looking at the first side, yeah, it starts off with Defiler of the Dead, like really eerie intro, and like just pummeling low bass in that song. It's extremely heavy, so that sets the tone for that. Barbaric Cruelties is a blast fest. The first standout track for me on this EP is track 3, World Domination, otherwise known as World Damnation. That starts with this extremely dark, eerie intro, this spoken word of this man talking about the apocalypse, the end of the world, but like, oh, it makes my hair stand on end, that intro actually. But then that song is just like heavy, it's got some crunch, really awesome thrashy kind of grooves in it, really good. Then track 4 is Driller Killer, which starts with that intro from the movie, which is hilarious. It's sort of, that makes the song in a way, but like, yeah, very good track, you know, obviously from the movie. Then they also have House by the Cemetery and the outro from the movie again, which is really eerie and atmospheric. So I would say on this EP, the samples play just as much an important role as the music. Then we go over to side 2, and you've got 2 covers straight up, which are both excellent, by the way. So you've got Procreation of the Wicked, originally by Celtic Frost, and yeah, so that's showing a catchier side of Mortician, but like played in that Mortician style with the production and everything. And they also do a cover of Napalm Death's Scum, and that's no surprise, because actually this band, I said they're death metal, they're often labeled as death grind, like they take a lot of influence from grindcore in terms of the extremity, the speed, and the abrasiveness, I would say. So yeah, that's really good. And then yeah, the last three tracks are all good, and it finishes with Nocturam de Mondo, obviously referring to Book of the Dead from Evil Dead, my favorite horror film of all time. So yeah, it's a fun EP. In terms of, like I said, it's not my favorite Mortician album or release, but it's still very good. But I would say, don't start with this one. In my opinion, if you've never heard this band and you'd like a starting reference point, I would start with Hacked Up for Barbecue, because it has the best production and the best sort of variety, and that was the first album I heard by them as well. So not saying that you should check that out just because it was my first, but my recommendation is to start with Hacked Up for Barbecue. So cool cover art. I used to have the poster. It came with a poster, but I bloody well lost it in a move, so that's the second poster that's happened to, so it's annoying. But just show you the inside. Yep, so you've got all the lyrics here and that grim picture. I think that's Defiler of the Dead, picture of the band, so Will and Roger, two-piece band. Yeah, and as I said, it came with a poster. I don't have that, but the vinyl on this is really nice as well, like this marbleized grey and white vinyl. And you see here, very cool, and I like how the sides are denoted by the number of skulls, so 1 and 2. Yeah, but yeah, awesome. All right, yep, so as I said, this is very brutal and extreme and may not be for everyone, but if you're a fan of death metal and you've been listening to it for a long time, you probably know this band already. But yeah, as I said, it's not sort of the starter's death metal album. But anyway, very good. Mortician with House by the Cemetery. All right. Now, all right, up next I've got another Mortician album. This is Zombie Apocalypse, which came out in 1998. Okay, so this one is also, I believe, a mini album or an EP. And yeah, I'll just get straight to the point. This is one of my favorite Mortician albums of all time. So if you want to know my top 3, it's Hacked Up for Barbecue, this one, and Chainsaw Dismemberment. So all of those 3 came out in sequence. So it's like around that period, 96 to 98, 99? Yeah, actually 96 to 99. Yeah, this is when I think the band was at their peak. But yeah, awesome album. This is 10 tracks here, also 2 covers once again, and this is sort of building on where they went with Hacked Up for Barbecue, except it becomes even more brutal because there's noisy production. They've down-tuned the guitars 2 steps further, I think, on this album, and like the bass is even more pummeling and crunchy and everything. But this is showing, unlike House by the Cemetery, which I showed, this is where the band had, by this point, mastered those extremely heavy, crunchy, fat-sounding riffs, which are just like extremely brutal and heavy. It's just brilliant. So yeah, I love the whole album of this, but there's also some variety with this. Like they do have some fast songs. It's a variety of tempos. Like obviously they have that like relentless blasting, like 250 BPM blasting, but they also have like mid-pace catchy riffs and rhythms and that kind of thing. So yeah, or like a good variety on this album too. So it starts off with Devoured Alive, which is inspired by the horror film Eaten Alive. Like the main riff in that is so brilliant, like that chin chin chin, like it's just bulldozing, pile driving that riff. It's awesome. And I also like the line in that song, the jaws of death chomp on your flesh. Then track 2, Incinerated, that's got a really sort of quirky, fast, energetic rhythm, which is really great, very catchy as well. Track 3, Zombie Apocalypse, which was inspired by Dawn of the Dead. It's got a sample from that song, and like just this heavy, crunching, slow riff, which is really haunting and extremely heavy. Great stuff. Then track 4, Slaughterhouse, which was inspired by the film by the same name, and it includes a sample on that. That's quite good as well. It's got some mid-pace catchy riffs in that. And then track 5 is Hell on Earth, obviously inspired by Hellraiser. It includes 2 samples from that. Another very sort of dark track. That's the thing, this band, with its levels of heaviness and the incorporation of horror film samples, it really does sound very dark at times. Like, yeah, which I think makes them more extreme than a lot of death metal bands. Going over to side 2, two covers in a row, just like House by the Cemetery. So first of all, you've got Fuck of Death, originally recorded by Slaughter, the Canadian death metal band, not the hair metal band with Vinnie Vincent. Yeah, very different Slaughter, but that is a great song, by the way, like just catchy, thrashy riffs in that, chugging riffs. And then a cover of Horrified by Repulsion, I believe. Yeah. When I say I believe, I know Repulsion released that album Horrified. I think it's that version here, that song they're covering. And then, yeah, the last 3 tracks are all good. Charred Corpses, Dissected, and Blood Harvest. Blood Harvest is another one of my favorites because it's inspired by Children of the Corn, which was one of my favorite horror films growing up in the 80s. Like, it includes that sample, you know, with the choral church singing in it, like Gloria, Gloria. Really good, and just some pile driving, bulldozing, heavy riffs in that song as well. And like the outro is so eerie, so Blood Harvest is an awesome song. So have a look at that cover art. I love this picture of like the zombies chomping on the limbs and everything, like very dark and atmospheric. The back's cool as well. Just show you the inside. So, yep, comes in a gatefold with all of the lyrics, nice and readable. By this point, the band was a three-piece, so it was still Will Rama on bass vocals, Roger Beaujard on guitars and drum programming, and I think, was it Desmond Tolhurst? Yes, on guitars, yeah. So, yeah, really nice gatefold there, and I'll show you the vinyl itself as well. So this one's really nice. It comes on this marbled blue, like light blue, black swirl. Nice labels as well, and again the sides are denoted by the number of skulls. Yeah, very nice. This is one of my, I always say this with colored vinyl, but it is one of my favorites actually of all of them. So yeah, that's cool. And this one also comes with a poster, which I haven't lost. So I'd like to frame this one day if I can, but I've heard it's hard to frame square posters, but there you go, massive iconic poster, so very cool. I vow not to lose this one. So yeah, that's Mortician with Zombie Apocalypse. The other good thing about this is it's a mini album, so it's 10 tracks and it's all over in half an hour or something. So just getting straight to the point, no time fillers or anything like that, just unrelenting brutality. So Mortician, Zombie Apocalypse. Okay. Now I'm taking a bit longer than I expected to. I knew this would happen when I start talking about the music, so hopefully you're not getting too bored. 3 more to go. The good news is with 2 of them, I'm not going to talk about them for very long. So first of all, Nile with Amongst the Catacombs of Nefren Ka. So you see this one, this was the issue Relapse 25-year birthday. I actually bought this one at Concerto Records in Amsterdam when I was over in Europe for the Grass Pop Festival in 2015. So yeah, Mark, you probably know Concerto, that shop in Amsterdam. Really good. I've bought a lot of vinyl when I've been there, just because like they have so much stuff and it's like very different to where I've lived. So yeah, really enjoy that. So yeah, I have spoken about this before on my innovative albums thread, which I made, and also like in various other various other VC thread responses as well, so I don't need to say too much, but a band from South Carolina, USA, I believe, and it's brutal extreme death metal, but very original because it's incorporating elements and aspects of Middle Eastern music and also incorporating keyboards and aspects of symphonic black metal, and all of the theme is obviously based around ancient Egyptian mythology and history, so a very interesting take on death metal, you know, something original. And this was the first album, came out in 98, I believe. Yeah, so just very original for its time, and this band's still going strong, you know, very famous and it's well deserved. Talking about the tracks on this, so like it's quite interesting. You've got the opening track is Smashing the Anti-You, which is like a just brutal, straightforward death metal, almost a bit grindcore with the speed and the relentlessness. Is that a word? But then yeah, you've got tracks like Bara Edinazu, which is very much groove based. It's interesting, and Kuduru Maklu, that's what I'm talking about with sort of what you imagine to be ancient Egyptian music or traditional Middle Eastern music. Serpent-Headed Mask is very dark with the incorporation of the keyboards, and you know that line where he says, "Copulate with thine self." Like it just makes me picture being inside like the tomb of a dark pyramid, something like that. Ramses Bringer of War is very like bombastic, symphonic, and like call to battle. Like it just makes you picture a battlefield in ancient Egypt or in ancient times. Brilliant. Some shredding guitar solos in that song as well. Stones of Sorrow is like a slow, heavy track talking about the construction of the pyramids, and like again just like very dark and heavy, that song. And they incorporate some keyboards and a brilliant guitar solo in that song, so it's absolutely great. Then going over to side 2, you've got Die Rache Krieg Lied der Assyrische, which I believe that's one where it's the choral arrangement, so it's got some chants and choral vocals and like some keyboards, but just very dark atmosphere in that song. Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. I just had to stop the video because I was looking out the window and there was someone just standing on the street hanging around, and I'm not sure if they were looking straight in here, but it was very off-putting. I was like, do I have a live audience when making this video? But they've gone now, so anyway. Yeah, Howling of the Djinn is the first Nile song I ever heard, like on a Relapse compilation, you know, and just incredibly, I remember I was just blown away by the extremity of that song, and you know, that unmistakable part of the song where it's like, suffocate me, suffocate my soul, with those low guttural vocals, and then that high-pitched manic scream which just goes on, and then all of a sudden from nowhere these keyboards come in and it sounds like an Emperor song, like just amazing. Love that song. And then yeah, last three tracks are great as well, like Pestilence and Iniquity, Opening of the Mouth, and Beneath Eternal Oceans of Sand. They include some Middle Eastern traditional music as well as acoustic guitars, so it is like relentless, brutal death metal, but they're incorporating other elements to make it interesting. So yeah, this is, as I said, a very innovative album, and it's a masterpiece in my opinion. Just show you the inside. Pretty basic. They've just got this insert with all of the lyrics. Nice color as well. It's cool. And this one comes on a colored vinyl, which I also really like. Yeah, so orange, rich red orange, nice labels, and sort of white and orange there. So yeah, another cool colored vinyl. Yeah, so I'm sure this band and album need no introduction. To me, it's the best because it was the first one, so it's just the most groundbreaking, but I do like a lot of other Nile albums too, like there's some brilliant ones. Tell me what's your favorite, but yeah, this is the one where I thought, it's of any one to own on vinyl, this one is essential. So yeah, Nile with Amongst the Catacombs of Neferunkar. Okay, now this next one that I'm going to talk about, this album needs no introduction. I've actually spoken about this one in the second video I ever made, way back when, after I had been to Athens. So in that video I described this album in a lot of detail, so I'm not going to do that again today. I'll link the video. You'll probably see it's a bit different because that was one of the first videos I ever made. But the album I'm talking about, of course, is Obituary with Cause of Death. Yes, so if you're watching this channel and you like these kind of videos, this band needs no introduction. I don't need to tell you who this band is, but this is just classic Floridian death metal, one of the first bands to ever come out in that American scene, you know, and one of the first bands in general, actually. So yeah, this band is just innovative, highly influential, yeah, and what can I say about it? Just essential classic death metal. I would even go as far as saying that, imagine there's someone who's completely oblivious. They have no idea what death metal is or what it sounds like. I would say this would be an album or a band to listen to, especially like this one and the first album, just to get a general idea of what death metal is about. Like, that's how quintessential it is, in my opinion. But yeah, Obituary, especially like this album, but also the first album, it's still steeped in a bit of thrash metal. So these bands emerged when it was sort of like death metal was evolving from thrash metal. So there's still a thrashy element, but obviously it's a bit more than that. Like this album has got a lot of slow atmosphere, like slow open power chords, heavy riffs and everything, but just so amazing, like really heavy, really catchy, great atmosphere. I listened to this just again today and I thought, yep, this is why it's my favorite Obituary album of all time. Just absolute classic, essential. Yeah, and they're also obviously renowned for John Tardy's unique vocals. So, you know, most death metal vocals are low and guttural, but his are more sort of like high-pitched and shrieked, but it's unique. And yeah, been impersonated a few times, but no one sounds quite like John Tardy. Like the vocals are almost like sludgy and sewer-like, but like really adding to the atmosphere so much. Every track on this album is great. Like I was listening to it today and I said, can I actually find one I dislike? No, so they're all good. Like Infected, Body Bag, Chopped in Half, Circle of the Tyrants, which is a Celtic Frost cover, amazing, very thrashy and catchy. Dying is a great song as well. And then, yeah, Find the Arise, Cause of Death, Memories Remain, Turned Inside Out. Yeah, I've described this album in extensive detail before, so I'm not going to do it again. So if you've never heard this album for whatever reason, just go and listen to it and I'll let the music do the talking instead of myself. I'm sure that's more interesting. What's cool about this one is it also features the demo version of 3 of the tracks, so Infected, Memories Remain, and Chopped in Half. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. When I saw this when I was in Athens, I thought, yes, I'll get it, and certainly have no regrets. So this one comes with some liner notes here, and yeah, picture of the band with some sampled lyrics. Yeah. And the vinyl itself, I really like this, suiting the theme of the front cover. Yeah, it comes on this rich red vinyl. So the eyeball from the front, and showing you this. Yeah, love it. So definitely essential for me, and for you if you haven't heard it. I would say I haven't made a top 5 or top 6 death metal albums of all time video yet. Maybe that's an idea for the future, but this would certainly be one of them. So it's in my top 5 death metal albums of all time, definitely, and certainly my favorite Obituary album. So classic, essential, check it out, Obituary, Cause of Death. Okay, and coming up to the last album that I'm going to talk about today. This is another one of my favorite death metal albums of all time, and bands, I would say, actually. Here we have 6 Feet Under with Warpath. So this is the original artwork, which came out in the USA, and you see here, there's the back. The European version was slightly different. Actually, I'll get the CD to show you. Yep, so just to show you, this is the CD version. I actually, to be honest, even though that skull one is very iconic, I prefer this one. I used to have the poster of this when I was back at uni. God, it's a shame that I didn't take care of more of my posters that I got, you know, back in the day. But you know, when you move house or you're moving interstate, something like that, yeah, it's hard to keep hold of those things. But anyway, yeah, so this is actually the original cover, and 6 Feet Under is the band. It started out as a side project, so it featured Chris Barnes, formerly of Cannibal Corpse. So he left Cannibal Corpse to join this band, although he was already in it. And at the time, this also featured Alan West, previously of Obituary, on guitar. And then, who else? It was Greg Gall on drums and Terry Butler, formerly of Massacre, who's now in Obituary, on bass. So somewhat of a super group, but this was their second full-length album. So Haunted came out first of all, and that was when it was introducing the world to their sound and everything. What I like, most people say Haunted is one of the best, including Chris Barnes. I think this one is my favorite 6 Feet Under album of all time, and I have mentioned this one in a thread before. What I like about this album, it's just got some really straightforward, catchy riffs. But yes, they're straightforward, but extremely catchy, and just awesome grooves. Remember, this band is very groove-oriented with, you know, in their heaviness and everything, and great vocal patterns. What's interesting about the lyrics as well is that often they're sort of very repeated, like it's the one line said many times and everything, but just the groove with which it's delivered and everything, it's very hypnotic, it's original, and it's unique. So you can tell that this album is just immersed in groove. And some great lyrics as well, great songs, like Chris is sort of expanding. There's some gory lyrics, you know, that typical traditional death metal vein, but also some themes about, you know, like freedom of speech and various other things, like issues going on in society, you know, which shows that he was expanding on what he was doing in Cannibal Corpse. So there's a like variety of themes on this. But yeah, I cannot say that I dislike any of the songs on this. Like, all of them are brilliant. And actually, when I was in a band with my friend, a death metal band, Devour, that we were in, we were mainly inspired by this band, particularly this album. And like in rehearsals, we used to just cover all of these songs. You know, like pretty much, I think we covered every song on this album, but they're all great. Like War Is Coming is a good opening track, like Call to Battle, literally. Non-Existence, extremely catchy. That's what I'm talking about with the grooves. A Journey into Darkness has just got a great chorus in that, like very inspiring, it's brilliant. Animal Instinct, again, just original vocal patterns and vocal styles, and that's where you hear Chris's various voices. Like when he was in Cannibal Corpse, it had mostly been the low guttural vocals, but on this album, he also does the high-pitched shrieks, for which he later became famous. Yeah, but this was like on Animal Instinct, he incorporates a variety of voices into that song. Death or Glory is a cover song. I can't remember who originally wrote it. Was it a band called Holocaust, I think? But yeah, I heard the original, didn't like it much at all, but this cover is brilliant. And then my favorite track on the album is Burning Blood, just dark, heavy, hypnotic. So good. Like when we were in the band together, me and my friend, we used to just cover that song and have so much fun covering it. It's brilliant. So Burning Blood, probably my favorite track on the album. Then you go over to side 2, Manipulation is brilliant. 420 is an interesting song because it's slower and it's got some more atmosphere, and also featuring some clean vocals from Chris. So like he sort of breaks out into song in some points, and I wouldn't say like he's got the best singing voice, but there's this charm that goes with it, which just adds to the atmosphere. Great lyrics in that song too, like, you know, just let nature take effect and everything. Revenge of the Zombie is good old straightforward thrashy death metal. Brilliant lyrics in that song. Like they're simplistic and economical, but like just the delivery of the vocals with the music, it's brilliant. Love it. And As I Die is a very good song as well, just like groovy, hypnotic, and very catchy once again. Night Visions is brilliant as well. A great chorus in that song, like very easy to sing along to. And also the bridge breakdown in that song is brilliant. And it finishes up with Caged and Disgraced, which is talking about suppression of freedom, you know, in this society, in this day and age. Well, this was released in 1997, but yeah, you get the point. But like, as you can see, I like every single song. Brilliant. Now, just showing you. So, it comes in this Metal Blade Records jacket, which is very nice. And it's quite funny, when I ordered this from Hell's Headbangers, you'll see here, this label, it actually says 6 Feet Under Haunted, and it's got the first 5 tracks from the Haunted album. So I thought they had sent me the wrong album. But then on this side, you've got the Warpath label. So they just sent the wrong label. And I remember I messaged them and I said, oh, I think I was sent the wrong one. You sent me Haunted instead. And they said, oh, yeah, we'll just send you another one. So that was very nice of them. But then I double checked and went, oh yeah, it is Warpath, so I don't need to send it back. And I was honest about that, obviously. Yep, so then you've got a two-sided lyric sheet here on the insert, which is very nice. And also, this is one I also don't want to lose. But yeah, I keep forgetting I have this, but awesome. Awesome fold-out poster there. So yeah, and this one's not square, so perhaps I'll be able to frame it one day. All right. But yeah, absolutely essential death metal, original, unique. And I know this band gets a bad rap. I don't understand it, but like I think especially the early albums are brilliant. So you've got to check this out if you haven't heard it. I could have included this actually in my innovative albums that you must hear video, but you know, I was trying to limit it to 10. But great album. Don't let their bad reputation or other people's bitching deter you. This album is brilliant. So that's 6 Feet Under with Warpath. Alright guys, and that is it for this video. So I've just gone through the last 5 death metal vinyl in my collection. So that brings me to the end of death metal vinyl. But as I said, I have some box sets which will take individual videos to talk about those, because there's a lot of detail in those. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video and didn't get too bored with my ramblings. Sorry about the slight interruption with that, but yeah, weird people. But anyway, thanks a lot for your support as always. I'll be back again soon with something else. Well, maybe not soon because things are a bit busy at the moment, but yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, back again quite soon anyway. So in the meantime, take care, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.